Hollywood knew how to sparkle, but even in the shimmer of Beverly Hills, some nights pulled more gravity than others. This was one of them, the kind of night where stars didn't just shine, they collided. It was Friday, 8:43 p.m., and the Rosemont Hotel ballroom was already bursting with anticipation. Every seat filled by people who knew how to play the game. Billion-dollar producers, foundation founders, Oscar winners, and secret socialites, all sipping $200 champagne and pretending not to care who walked in next. But they did care. Oh, they always cared. Because under the chandeliers and rented smiles, everyone in that room was a predator or prey. And then Meghan Markle walked in. No red carpet. No press announcement. No entourage shouting her name. She entered in silence, but that silence rippled faster than any spotlight. A fitted ivory dress that shimmered just enough. A diamond cuff that glared against her wrist. The kind of outfit worn not for vanity, but for power. She glanced across the room, chin lifted, posture sharp, the look of someone who'd spent years mastering her angles. She always looked composed, it was her armor. But behind the eyes, something else. Not excitement, not confidence. Anticipation tinted with doubt. Because here's the twist, she wasn't part of this event, at least not officially. "She's not on the seating chart," one coordinator whispered, flipping through a gold-trimmed binder full of names. "Not on the seating chart," another repeated, tone flattening. Her name wasn't on the list. Not in the program. Not in the sponsor mentions. But she was here and already changing the temperature of the room. The cameras noticed first. They always did. Heads turned like a wave, eyes sharpening the second they processed the scene. A duchess materializing at a Hollywood charity gala with no fanfare. A few smiles emerged, fake, diplomatic. The kind that said, "I don't know what's happening, but I need to look like I do." Others pretended not to see her at all. It was the beginning of the kind of moment where no one knew what would happen next, but everyone wanted to be there when it did. During cocktail hour, Meghan gravitated toward familiar faces. A designer, a producer, a former colleague. But the greetings were awkward, half waves, tight smiles, no warmth. "Why wasn't I included in the sponsor introductions?" she reportedly asked a designer. All smiles, all teeth, a smile that meant business. The designer hesitated. He wasn't prepared. He didn't have the script. "It's not that kind of sponsorship," he stammered. "More of a host acknowledgement." Meghan laughed. But it wasn't real. One of those laughs with edges sharp, short, unblinking. She walked away, murmuring something to her assistant. They didn't invite the right people. By 9 p.m., something in her posture had shifted. Pacing, phone checking, a quick glance toward the stage, another at the media table. Her confidence faded into tight breath and hidden nerves. Then the host took the stage, spotlights, applause, static, hush. His speech began, thanking everyone, the donors, the performers, the celebrities. Her name was not one of them. Every clap hit like a pulse. On her face, the expression changed almost imperceptibly from polite composure to something fragile, something splintered. Then it happened. She stood. Small motion, quiet, elegant even. But the timing shattered the illusion. Guest after guest turned their heads, a wave of confusion, eyebrows raised, mouths parted just slightly. The energy had shifted entirely. Meghan took a step, then another, and then she was walking not to the exit, to the stage. She walked with purpose, not dominance, desperation. And that's when the room held its breath. Before she reached the stairs, a coordinator appeared gliding into her path, like someone trained to stop momentum without causing a collision. The two spoke in low, tight tones. No one could hear what was said. But every phone in the room was pointed in their direction. Her body stiffened, shoulders back, jaw tight, fingers trembling just slightly as she turned sharply away from the stage. She didn't yell, she didn't scream, but she didn't smile anymore. Within 10 minutes, word had spread. She was escorted quietly, discreetly out a side entrance. No spotlight, no speech. Just an invisible rope tugged off stage before she could perform. That's how the night ended for Meghan Markle. But the story didn't stop at that side door. It hadn't even begun. By sunrise, the whispers had become a roar. The night at the Rosemont had gone from velvet glamour to digital wildfire. The footage shaky, grainy, caught between champagne glasses and clipped conversations, hit TikTok at 6:17 a.m. It wasn't clear, it wasn't polished, but it was enough. Meghan Markle in an ivory gown, gesturing at someone in a dark suit, lips moving rapidly but no audio. Just fragments, just angles. And that was all the internet needed. 3 seconds. You should have announced me. Her voice barely caught in the wind of passing microphones. That was the spark. Within hours, the clip was on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, reposted, reframed, remixed, slowed down with dramatic music. Overlaid with captions in bold red fonts, Markle meltdown, escorted out, peer disaster. The Beverly Hills breakdown. That's what one headline called it. And from there, it was official. The narrative had chosen itself. It didn't matter what she said. It just mattered how it looked and how it felt. She wanted the spotlight. The room didn't give it to her, and she didn't walk away quietly. That was the story, true or not. By noon, the press had already begun feeding. A statement finally came in from the Rosemont Hotel's PR contact. Short, formal, impersonally polite. The Duchess attended briefly, but was not scheduled to appear publicly. We are proud the event raised $4.6 million for charity. Translation: she didn't belong there, and it wasn't our problem. But someone else had more to say. An anonymous volunteer spoke to a gossip site. Meghan's name was originally on the guest list, but her team never confirmed her attendance. That's why she wasn't announced. She must have assumed she'd still be recognized. A misunderstanding. That's how it was framed. But by afternoon, the internet had already made up its mind. She thinks she's still royalty. She can't let a single event happen without making it about herself. She left the palace but brought the ego. And then, the dam broke. A 26-second video surfaced. Security footage from a hallway at the Rosemont. It didn't show her being chaotic. No shouting, no aggression. Just a silent clip of her walking quickly, clutching her phone, a woman trailing behind with an open notebook, and a hotel guard leading her down a carpeted corridor. A close-up on her face revealed something unexpected. Fear. Not entitlement, not rage. Just fear. And then, at the end of the hallway, she said the only audible words. "I don't need to be escorted. I'm fine." I said, "I'm fine." That was all. But it was enough to split the world in two. Her supporters said it was proof of a setup. "It's like they've been waiting to humiliate her," one tweet read. Her critics just had jokes. First time in history, someone was escorted out of a room she tried to hijack. The memes were everywhere. A photo of Meghan next to a velvet rope labeled, "VIP very insecure person." Even late-night hosts joined in. Maybe she thought she was getting an award for best performance in a real-life soap opera. The crowd laughed. But behind the laughter was something deeper. A strange, simmering obsession. People didn't just want to mock her. They wanted to understand her. Because everywhere she went, she seemed to carry the same script, the one people couldn't stop watching. The misunderstood woman, the wronged duchess, the outsider who needed the room to look back. The press circled, hungry. Paparazzi staked out the Rosemont and the Beverly Hills hotel where she'd reportedly stayed after leaving the gala. No one saw her, not once. And that silence only fed the frenzy. Then came the first quote from someone inside the hotel. She didn't leave the next morning. She stayed in her room. Lights off. Room service sent back. No staff allowed inside. Allegedly, she spent 2 nights like that. Just her phone, and the headlines spinning outside like a hurricane. One staffer later said, "She walked in wearing diamonds and left wearing exhaustion." That line made it to Variety, then to the BBC, then to TikTok again, but now as poetry instead of mockery. Because while the world was busy watching her react, no one was asking why she was reacting in the first place. Except one. A journalist from the Los Angeles Chronicle contacted one of her assistants, the same assistant seen walking behind her in the hallway footage. And for the first time, a different version of the night began to surface. Not a meltdown, not a tantrum. A mistake, a planning failure, an expectation misplaced. A woman who thought she'd been invited to be seen then realized she wasn't meant to be seen at all. She was embarrassed, the assistant said. She didn't want attention. She just wanted acknowledgement. But once she realized it wouldn't happen, she didn't know how to disappear without making it worse. Too created it. It wasn't anger. It was shame. But it was too late for that nuance. Because the story wasn't in her words, it was in the footage. The way it was framed, edited, clipped, re-uploaded, and spun into content. The world wasn't watching Meghan Markle anymore. It was watching the character they had made out of her. And she was losing the plot. By the end of the second day, a single tweet summed it up. She didn't break down because she lost control. She broke down because she thought she had it. That tweet hit 1.6 million likes. And still not a word from Meghan, until she made a decision. Not to post, not to defend, but to reclaim. She called someone she trusted. Someone who could help her tell the story without filters, without spin. A producer. One who had once offered her something she didn't think she needed. A room, a story, a voice, and now she was ready to use it. Just me, one mic, no glam, no script. That's what she reportedly asked for. And that was the moment the backlash didn't end. It shifted, because the stage that once rejected her, she was about to build her own. The third day after the gala incident was when the real footage began to surface. Not just shaky iPhone clips or paparazzi angles. The kind of footage that wasn't meant for public eyes. The kind of footage that wasn't filtered through a press lens or shaped by someone else's storyline. Security camera footage. Hotel hallway footage. The silent, unedited truth. The first leak came from the Rosemont Hotel itself, a discreet 18-second clip. No dramatic orchestral score, no glamour, no studio lighting, just Meghan Markle, alone. Her back against a marble wall, phone beside her, shoulders slouched in a way the tabloids had never shown. Her face not hardened by performance but raw with something far more dangerous. Vulnerability. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't storming out. She wasn't even moving. She was sitting, still, quiet, breathing. And then, a security guard approached her. Not to push her out, but to check if she was okay. Meghan glanced up and smiled. That small, delicate smile that cracks under pressure. The camera's audio captured just one line. "I just need a minute." That was all. No meltdown, no screaming, no theatrics. Just a woman trying to gather herself before re-entering a world determined to misinterpret every expression. That clip, released without warning, hit the internet like a second wave. And this time, things shifted. Not completely, not kindly, but enough. Supporters, who'd been drowned out by the louder narrative, found their moment. "We watched a headline," one tweet said. "Now we're watching a human." The number "I just need a minute" hashtag began trending 3 million posts in 24 hours. Some mocking, some earnest, but thousands of women used it to share their own stories. Boardroom collapses, bathroom breakdowns, moments hidden behind public smiles. If Meghan Markle can't even sit down without being called unstable, one post read, "What chance do the rest of us have?" The media had been ready for a scandal, but now it had a mirror. And the world wasn't just staring at Meghan anymore. It was staring at itself. But while the internet split into two, across the Atlantic, another reaction was brewing, colder, quieter, calculated. The palace. They never comment directly. That's their rule. Control through silence. Narrative through omission. But that morning, a royal correspondent tweeted something allegedly from a senior palace aide. "The Duchess is entitled to privacy. We simply wish she would exercise it." 16 words. No names, no sources, no attribution. But it was enough. British media ignited. Palace concerned over Meghan's stability. Duchess, spiraling after charity humiliation. She wants headlines. Now she's drowning in them. Yet, something was different this time. Something had shifted. Because the American press, the same one that once flipped on Meghan, wasn't having it. She was humiliated at an event she helped organize, a CNN anchor said. And now she's being humiliated again for reacting. Variety called it a public execution in slow motion. The Hollywood Reporter ran with, Meghan didn't melt down. The room froze her out. Suddenly, the one thing no one had seen coming appeared on the horizon. Redemption, not handed to her, fought for. Because while Meghan said nothing, the story began telling itself. Not in headlines, but in context. And then another leak, a full-page scan of the internal Rosemont Hotel event report. Anonymous, unverified, explosive. The document included an entry marked, "Unscheduled VIP appearance, Duchess of Sussex instructed to limit visibility per sponsor directive, acknowledgement avoided to maintain event optics." Avoided, not forgotten, not overlooked. Avoided, deliberately. And that changed everything. It wasn't a meltdown. It was a setup. It wasn't a scene. It was a silencing. She wasn't ignored by accident, one tweet read. She was erased on purpose, and then punished for reacting to it. A cultural critic summed it up best. "We love to watch a woman fall. We just hate to admit we made her jump." By now, the footage, the leaks, the emails, they all pointed to one damning phrase. She wasn't wanted in the room. She just refused to leave it quietly. And that refusal, to the world, became the real scandal. Because there's nothing more dangerous in a room full of power than a woman who stops performing it. And Meghan? She wasn't performing anymore. She was plotting. The next move was hers. And for the first time, it wasn't driven by panic. It was driven by clarity. She wasn't going to fix the narrative. She was going to own it. What came next wasn't a press statement. It wasn't a tweet. It wasn't even a sit-down interview. It was something far more controlled, far more strategic. It was a lens she could finally look through. Not to see herself as the world did, but to make the world see her as she was. The cameras were going back on, but this time, they would be hers. It wasn't the fall that defined her. It was the pause. 2 days, no post, no publicist, no denial, no apology, just silence. And in that rare vacuum where a celebrity should have either explained or exploded, something unexpected took shape. Control, not dramatic, not emotional, strategic. Because the truth was, Meghan Markle wasn't out of moves. She was out of patience. Her phone had stopped buzzing. Her team had stopped panicking. Her assistant no longer responded with, "We're working on it," but with a quiet, exhausted, "She's thinking." Then, on the evening of the third day, she made the call. Not to her agency, not to the tabloids, not even to Netflix, but to a producer, a woman she had once politely declined. A producer who told her years earlier, "When you're finally tired of letting other people write it, call me, we'll film it." And now, with headlines strangling her voice and the palace whispering about her sanity, she was tired, not of the story, but of being reduced to a reaction inside it. The deal was made in less than 12 minutes. One camera, no glam team, no handlers, no approved topics. Just a room, a mic, and the truth, unedited, unplanned, unfiltered. The taping happened in a private studio in West Hollywood. No announcement, no tease, no pre-release stills. The only people in the room, the producer, a cameraman, and Meghan, hair tied back, minimal makeup, beige sweater, worn jeans, not the Duchess, not the performer, just the woman. Her first words were not defensive. They were simple. "I wasn't thrown out. I left because I was embarrassed." She didn't blink. She didn't tremble. She breathed, the kind of breath that lives between humiliation and clarity. And as she exhaled, she added, "I thought I was being acknowledged, but I wasn't even being seen." That's when her voice cracked. Not dramatically, but humanly. "Every time I try to move forward, the past walks into the room before I do." She paused, looked down, then straight into camera. "I didn't demand attention. I asked for understanding." And somehow, that became the headline. There was no stage sadness, no theatrics, no tears on cue, just a voice that sounded like what it had finally become. Done. Not defeated, done. The producer cut early at exactly 7 minutes and 38 seconds, because that was all it needed. When the video aired, it wasn't on a morning show, not on Oprah, not on Netflix, not on any royal-friendly broadcast. It was streamed through a quiet, mid-sized studio channel, the kind known for documentary reels, not drama. And still, it detonated. The same outlets that dragged her turned on their heels. The rawest we've seen her. A woman refusing to disappear. Not a breakdown, a breaking point. But others weren't buying it. Same critics, same circles, new accusations. It's her strategy vulnerability as rebranding. Emotional exposure is her currency now. No one noticed that Meghan didn't defend herself this time. Not once. The story was telling itself. Then something else happened. Something even the tabloids didn't expect. Her silence started trending louder than the headlines. She didn't double down. She didn't argue. She didn't tweet. She stopped performing. And that more than any statement was a shock. Because in a world addicted to celebrity confession, Meghan chose something riskier than transparency. She chose stillness. But even stillness isn't safe when the world wants you in motion. And this time it wasn't the press that came after her. It was the institution she once belonged to, the palace. A source unnamed but perfectly quoted said this to a British tabloid. Her emotional display is concerning. The royal family hopes she seeks the help she needs. That wasn't a statement. That was a shot. Because every woman in power knows this lesson. When they can't control you, they diagnose you. And the press ate it up. On air, a panel of royal experts debated whether Meghan was emotionally fit to manage fame. A morning host asked, "Is this vulnerability or instability?" One columnist wrote, "She's not unwell, she's just not being obeyed." The meaning was clear. If you don't break the way they understand, they'll call it a breakdown. And suddenly, Meghan's silence was louder than her words. Louder than her gala exit, louder than any scandal they'd tried to stage. Hollywood noticed. Not the influencers, not the gossip channels, the women, Academy winners, producers, writers, quiet messages, private support. One post from a famously reclusive actress simply read, "When a woman stops smiling, the world gets scared." Meghan liked it. One single like. Enough to confirm everything the palace didn't want. She wasn't hiding, she was preparing. And what came next was not an apology, not a spin, not a plea to be let back in. It was a starting point, a table, a round table, not in a hotel ballroom, but in a quiet co-working space in Beverly Hills. 12 women, no press, no photographers, no publicist. Just a conversation about visibility, exhaustion, and the invisible cost of grace. One attendee leaked the quote that rewired everything. "They didn't escort me out because I lost control. They escorted me out because I stopped performing control." That line, it didn't trend. It detonated. Number, stop performing. Number, control is not composure. Number, let her be human. 3 hashtags. Millions of stories. Not about her. About them. Women in boardrooms, in marriages, in break rooms, in classrooms. Writing about every forced smile, every swallowed rage, every time they'd been told to calm down, smile more, let it go. It was no longer just Meghan's moment. It was a mirror. And that was the moment her story stopped being a headline and became a movement. The thing no one expected was that she kept every second of it. The night at the Rosemont, the hallway walk, the silent bench, the glance back toward the camera, that quiet, broken, dangerous glance. Not the paparazzi footage. Her footage, from her own phone, because what everyone forgot was this. Meghan Markle lived a life where every room had a witness, so she learned to be one for herself. That was the shift. She stopped being someone else's subject and became her own archivist. And once the public began to see her not as fragile, but as strategic, the story didn't just flip, it fractured. There were no more tabloids versus Twitter threads. There was one question. Whose story was this really? The answer came in the quietest way. No interviews, no red carpet comeback, no palace rebuttal. Just a single press release. Not from Netflix, not from Archewell. From a studio no one expected. An independent documentary office on Fairfax, known for raw, unedited narratives. Title, "The Moment They Looked Away." Tagline, "When they stopped listening, she started recording." The announcement didn't make noise. It made silence. the kind of silence that ripples right before a storm. Skeptics rolled their eyes. Another sympathy reel. She's addicted to being misunderstood. Vulnerability for subscribers. But then the trailer dropped. 60 seconds. Muted audio. Paparazzi flashes. A montage of headlines dissolving into ash. Close-up shots of Meghan's hands, not her face. Her voice, not crying, narrating. Calm, steady, unshaken. They told me to be graceful. Then, they told me to be grateful. Now, they just want me to be quiet. Cut to black. Text on screen. You looked away. I didn't. It was clean, it was brutal, and it was brilliant. Netflix bought global distribution rights in under 48 hours. Industry sources said it wasn't just the footage, it was the rights. Meghan owned it. Every frame, every moment, every silence. She didn't leak it. She licensed it. Not for pity. For permanence. The documentary opened with the footage no one had seen. Her, alone, in the hallway. Back against cold marble. Gown wrinkled. Phone shaking slightly as it filmed the empty corridor. You could almost hear her heartbeat in the room. I didn't lose control, her voice whispered over the clip. I lost permission. Then came the cut no one prepared for. Not the Rosemont footage. Not the TikTok edits. Her angle. Her camera. Her point of view. Holding up the phone. Filming the room full of people who looked past her. Filming the empty chair where her name should have been. Filming herself in the mirror, not crying. Just breathing. Because sometimes, the strongest thing a woman can film is the moment she doesn't fall apart. By the time the documentary aired, even her detractors watched. Not because they cared, but because they couldn't look away anymore. Was she manipulative? Maybe. Was she wounded? Definitely. Was she calculated? Absolutely. But that wasn't the point. The point was this. For the first time in years, Meghan Markle wasn't inside a story she didn't control. She was author. She was subject. She was camera, not the watched. The watcher. The palace never made a statement. The tabloids never apologized. But the comment section wasn't theirs anymore. It belonged to the people who saw the line that mattered most. I wasn't escorted out of the room. I was escorted out of the version of me they preferred. And then, at the end, her final line spoken directly to camera, without music, without edits. They can take the room, I'll take the story. Fade to white. Silence. Not applause. Understanding. Because whether you hated her, defended her, mocked her, or ignored her, she made something undeniable. Her version now existed beside theirs. Not louder, just quieter, sharper, unerasable. A woman whose story wasn't given, but taken back. And somewhere in a house overlooking the LA skyline, Meghan Markle closed her laptop. Not triumphant, not broken, just still, because the world wasn't talking about her anymore. It was talking about what she made, what she showed, what she survived. And for the first time, they weren't watching a meltdown. They were watching a woman rewrite the ending, not just for herself, but for anyone who has ever stood in a room full of eyes and felt invisible.